So next we'll pass it over to Miranda.
All right, can you see it?
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. Like I said before, my name is Miranda, and I'm a student at the Rural Planning and Development program at the University of Guelph. And today I'm going to be sharing an overview and some of the highlights of the research project that I've been working on called Rural Philanthropy: Mapping Patterns of Charitable Giving in Newfoundland and Labrador in Canada's Atlantic region. So rural philanthropy is often considered a core social norm in small and rural communities. It manifests in the propensity of local service clubs, individuals, and entire communities that band together to support those who are struggling. More formal types of philanthropic organizations, such as charities and nonprofits, are traditionally dedicated to furthering a particular social or environmental cause or advocating for a shared point of view. In Canada, the nonprofit and charitable sectors make significant contributions to their local communities and to larger global society. And this can be seen in 2017, Canada's nonprofit sector generated $169.2 billion, which represents 8.5% to Canada's total GDP. This can also be coupled with the recent history where we've seen the dissolution of economic and community development boards and an increased downloading of services and responsibilities onto local levels of government and non-governmental organizations all across Canada, including Newfoundland. So rural philanthropy and its ability to advance rural development and sustainable rural communities is an emerging field of research. However, little academic attention has examined the challenges, barriers, and advantageous conditions faced by small and rural environmental organizations in Newfoundland specifically. So this research sought to fill this gap by examining these experiences of environmental charities in Newfoundland to better understand their relationships with charitable giving and their experiences within the sector in Newfoundland. So the goal of this project was fairly broad. It was to contribute to the discourse on philanthropy in rural Canada, and more specifically Newfoundland, and it was addressed by three objectives. The first was to identify existing patterns of philanthropy, specifically formal environmental philanthropy in Newfoundland and Atlantic Canada. The second was to outline the benefits, barriers, and challenges, and barriers that environmental organizations face in gaining charitable status or engaging in the charitable sector as a whole. And the third was to identify support needed for environmental, charitable, and nonprofit organizations in Newfoundland. So the methods used in this project was a mixed methods design, and we followed the first thing we did was a systematic literature review and jurisdictional scan. And then the second was a review and analysis of secondary statistical data from Canada Revenue Agency to look at overarching trends in Newfoundland and Atlantic Canada. And lastly, we conducted 16 semi-structured interviews with key informants from a pool of NGOs in Newfoundland. So I'll spend most of this time going over the findings. So there were a number, and they'll be organized by challenges and benefits that came out. So there were a number of challenges expressed by environmental charities and nonprofits in Newfoundland, and some of the most significant ones included the experience of having a limited human capacity. 75% of the individuals that participated in the study shared that they belonged to an organization with one part-time or full-time employee, or they were entirely volunteer run. So participants expressed that the significant time constraints faced by their team members has impacted their ability to get work done effectively and efficiently. As well, securing the financial means to continue an organization's activity was expressed as a challenge due to organizations often relying on grants that they're required to apply and reapply for time and time again. Time constraints and inconsistent access to funding was associated with difficulties such as extending the organization's activities, applying for charitable status, or even building stronger relationships with other environmental organizations in the province. And then lastly, participants stated that they experienced challenges around connecting with other environmental organizations due to the relative inactivity of the main coordinating environmental organization in Newfoundland, who themselves have been struggling. and were previously responsible for disseminating important knowledge and networking opportunities for environmental organizations specifically. And while there were a number of challenges expressed by participants, there were also a number of benefits. And one of the benefits was that all participants that participated shared that obtaining and maintaining a charitable designation increased their sense of freedom that they felt around being able to apply for a greater number of funding opportunities because of the designation. Another benefit expressed by participants that held a charitable designation was that it was believed to increase social legitimacy for organizations. So participants said that they believed being a registered charity conveyed to their community that they would appropriately manage their money, and that they were committed to building something long-term for their community to serve the best interests of their community. And lastly, another advantageous condition experienced by all participants was that they believed that they had good connections and support from their local communities, and organizations. And this was connected to their programming and the reality that it was more typically well received because of these supports within their community, and it allowed them to partner with other organizations on projects. So why does this all matter? It matters because being able to understand the challenges, barriers, and advantageous conditions better helps us to conceptualize what might be needed to support organizations to carry out their activities and to become more sustainable and resilient in the long term. Further, by addressing challenges in alternative ways, it may help to support meaningful internal and external communication and collaboration to successfully harness collective power within the sector and to continue to advance the social and environmental development work that's already being done in Newfoundland.